So my name is Mr. Lang. I teach 12th grade ERWC and 11th grade AP at Centennial High School. So today we saw a Socratic Seminar on the ERWC unit, the Art of Persuasion, focused on animal rights. So what they do is, as we go through the articles, in their annotations, the purpose of them is the things that they want to talk about as a class and the things that they want to write about ultimately after that. So we spend the whole unit kind of talking about what they will talk about. When we have the seminar, we're kind of preloading that throughout the whole unit. Then there's an entire day before the seminar where they prepare their questions, they show me their questions, their answers. I assign partners so that they know who's going to be working with them during the seminar on the day of. Okay, so I have an inner circle, which is half the desks, which is 21 desks. I have an outer circle, which is also 21 desks. And I also have one in the center, which is the hot seat. So the inner circle people are the ones who are actually in the discussion. The people in the outer circle are actively listening. The hot seat is there in case somebody in the outer circle really wants to speak. They're not supposed to speak when they're out there, other than encouraging their partner to get involved, giving them ideas as to what they could say based on their questions that they prepared. But ultimately, the inner circle people are talking, the outer circle people are watching. There's also a chair. I use a fancy red chair I have in my class, and that chair is for the person who's the leader. I let them volunteer, but I also have in mind who the leader is. It's somebody who is vocal and who the other students respect. You'll kind of know who that is in your class. And that person is not supposed to talk more. They introduce the first question, which I pre-approved to make sure it's high interest. And that person also has a list that I make of all the names of the people in the inner circle. And they encourage people who aren't involved to get involved. They will also stop side conversations if necessary, but they know that they are supposed to do this in a kind way. The inner circle people know that the leader is there not to call them out, but to help ensure that they're getting their points. Anybody can ask a question. It may be hard to talk in front of people, but that's why they're prepared ahead of time. So I tell them ahead of time that the rules are you need to speak 3 times minimum. It has to be meaningful. So one way they're being held accountable is their partner that knows that. They've looked at each other's questions ahead of time, they've talked about it, they're keeping track and telling them, hey, you've only talked once, or hey, you haven't talked. They also can see I'm keeping track on my sheet. They also know at the end they're going to self-assess. So rather than me saying, you didn't talk, you got an F. It's them kind of looking at, like, what did I do on the back, a rubric that I prepared for them on their handouts. Did I actively listen? Did I prepare questions? Have I taken away something from this? But ultimately, they know that they need to have spoken in order to get full credit, and it has to be meaningful, referring to the text. Not a direct quote, but it can't just be something generally within the topic. It needs to be based on the articles that we've written, supplementary sources. We do TED Talks, we watch documentaries along with current articles and what's in the book that the school provides. So it's always scary to do the first one, and you just got to do it. It's kind of terrifying to introduce a lesson where you're not allowed to get involved. There will be awkward pauses, but we've all experienced this in our teaching, and sometimes you have to let there be that awkward pause. They will look at you, and you just got to nudge your shoulders and let them know that this is on them. It is their conversation. You've done your part by providing all of the resources for them to have an opinion. Now they need to develop that further in the class conversation. You just make it clear to them, like, to get full credit, you have to be prepared, you have to talk, you have to be here. I always give them the analogy that the day of Socratic Seminar is like game 6 of the finals. You might be sick, or you might miss a game during the regular season, but this is the culminating assignment, one of the last 2 along with the writing assignment. You got to be here, and you got to show me that you're a part of it, and get involved. Once you do it, students will ask you to do more of them. So I really encourage you doing it, because it gets kids the sense that they are involved in the learning process. It's not just you giving them information. They're sorting out their ideas amongst each other. Also, make sure that you make it clear to them that it is not a debate. If you just yell at each other, you're not going to change anybody's mind. In animal rights, I say, if you're a vegan, you're not going to convince other people to be vegans. But if you can convince them to understand why a vegan would choose to do that, then you've accomplished something. Because in writing, you need to have counter argument. Students struggle with this. You need to be able to acknowledge the other side and not just deflate it and say that it is stupid. When you look at a person who has an actual idea different than yours and they can say why in a way that you understand, that's powerful for students. To understand different ideas without hating people that have ideas different from theirs. So I think there's a lot of life skills. But ultimately, back to the beginning, you just got to do it. Students oftentimes will have done one. There'll be a few kids in your class who at some point have had a teacher who's done one, and they will kind of lead the way, and you just do it.